Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it last.
It's time for another conversation. Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. And I am privileged to have Marnie. I'm getting overly conscious, and I pronounced it before we started recording. Marnie, Dachis, Marnet. Did I get it right?
Marmet, yeah.
Marnet's right. Marnet.
Marmet.
Okay,
Yep.
Marmet. With us to unpack living with intention, cultivating a balanced life. She's an author, she's a podcaster, she's an entrepreneur, and she's a health coach. Welcome, Marnie.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here today.
Before we unpack that particular topic, you're an author. Tell us a little bit about your book.
So my book is called My Song Unleashed, and I can hold it up here, and I know you're going to attach some things, but it's basically a memoir that I wrote, and it is talking about my journey to finding my voice and really my authentic voice and tuning into myself and my gut and really digging deep and figuring out how to live the life that I want to live. And the book is broken down, into chapters, and there's a lot of different stories in the book, and it kind of jumps around in different time periods, and each story contains a message and a quote that's really meaningful to me. And I've heard from a lot of readers that it's just really inspired them to dig deep into their own lives to figure out what they want in their lives.
Okay. Which is a nice segue then into the whole idea of living with intention and cultivating a balanced life. I'm going to cut it in two, and I'll tell you why. When you think of somebody living with intention, what does that mean for you?
I think that everything that you're doing, you're purposefully doing. So you're not just going through the motions of a lot of people around me are just like racing through their days. They have this on their calendar and this on their calendar, and they're running, and they're not thinking about what they're doing or why they're doing it or if they even want to do it. And when I think about living with intention, I think about being really thoughtful about how you want to spend your time.
Okay. I'm going to get back to that. We're going to the other end of it now, cultivating a balanced life. Is that really possible, or is that an ideal that we all strive for that is really just, a fantasy?
I think it's really possible. I think that life is a journey. It's not a destination. So, I've been on this journey for cultivating a balanced life for a number of years now. And I feel like I'm getting much closer to a place that I want to be, knowing that what I want can change over time, right? But I don't think it's impossible. I think it's very possible, but like you mentioned before, you have to be super intentional and thoughtful about how you manage your day and your time.
Okay. All right. So we're going to put it together now, because there are people who are going to listen to this and watch this, and they're going to say, this is probably easy for you to say because you probably don't have all of the different pieces that I have to juggle, whether it is family, whether it is work, whether it is just church life, whether it is my social life. What is your response to that? They'll say, it's easy for you to say.
Well, I'll say that I have 3 kids. They're getting older now, but I've been doing this for a long time. I run 2 businesses. I run a podcast. I wrote a book. I think people look at me and see that I'm doing a lot of things. I'm not just like sitting home
Twiddling
eating
yourself.
bonbons.
Okay.
I'm exercising, I'm meditating, and I think I spend time with friends, I spend time with family, and I spend time with my dog. I think what it comes down to is like I said earlier, how you spend your day. And I don't know if you want to dig into that a little bit, but like one of the things that I recommend that when, my clients do, or people that are working with me, is you want to do some goal setting, and that's super important. And the way that I like people to do that is you start asking yourself some of these larger questions so that you can lead yourself to really start to live the life that you want to live. And I think one of the ways you do that, you get your little journal and your pen and you start to identify what matters most to you in different areas of your life. So, you want to come up with the different buckets, and those buckets could be work, relationships, your health goals, your personal goals. And I think it's super important to tune into yourself and what you want. And you may be really far away from what you want, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said earlier, this is a journey, right? You're not going to
True.
just go from A to Z in 2 minutes. There's going to be time and
Mm-hmm.
space involved in getting there. And I think that the first step, though, is you really have to have a clear picture of what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, then it's hard to achieve what you're striving for,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And so if you have no idea what you want, then you have to even take it a step backwards and really start to dig in and figure out what it is you do want.
I'm glad
Does
you
that make
said
sense?
yes, it does. I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that I've started to do, because I love listening to music, but instead of listening to music as much, especially in the mornings, I've gotten in the habit of listening to different, I believe it's Stoic philosophy, and they speak a
Mm-hmm.
lot about being
Yeah.
mindful and all of that. And I said to myself, instead of, because yes, I can still listen to music, but it literally has set a different tone to my day. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was listening to one of them earlier, and it's the whole idea of responding instead of reacting. And because I know how emotional I can get, it really resonated with me. So you're absolutely right. And I think if you zero in on what really matters most, everything else, is not as important as it seemingly used to be. So yeah, it's interesting that you started with a a first step. So which means you have other steps. So let's go into the other steps then.
Well, one thing I was going to say, just
Mm-hmm.
thinking about people that maybe don't know, I'm talking big picture, right? When I'm
Okay.
saying you're
Okay.
going to
Set goals.
identify what matters most to you
Mm-hmm.
in all these buckets, but something you could do, tomorrow if you wanted, was when you wake up in the morning and you're lying in bed, put one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart, and first of all, just take 10 deep breaths before you even get out of bed. Just take 10 deep breaths. It's really quick. And then, still in bed, say to yourself, what do I want my day to look like today?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want it to look like? And really envision that. Maybe you're doing something really difficult that day. How do you want that to come out? How do you want to, like you said, respond
Yes.
to whatever's going to happen in your day? And I think when you set that tone in the morning, it really sets the tone for your entire day. And that's really cultivating, we talked about intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think cultivating intention leads to cultivating balance, right? Like it's all connected.
Yeah.
So I find that exercise really, really valuable. I've been doing it for a long
Yes.
time.
Same.
If you get into that habit, um, it becomes really easy to do, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. And then you could even add at the end of your day something similar. And maybe you're not in bed, but it's right before you go to bed where you're just taking those 10 deep breaths and you're reflecting on your day. What went well? What are you grateful for? What didn't go so well? How could you do it differently next time? And doing some of those things, thinking about it, just being intentional about it, is going to tune you into yourself. I think a
Yes.
lot of people struggle to tune
Yes.
in to themselves.
I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life.
Hey everyone, I'm Marnie Dachis Marmet. I'm an author, podcaster, serial entrepreneur, and health coach. And I am here on the Making It Last podcast with Noreen Daly. We're here talking about cultivating a balanced life. And right now, we're going to hear a word from our partners.
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors. Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-877-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Does your business lack branding? Having difficulty realizing your vision? Look no further. Splinth Brand Design Consultancy specializes in developing personal and business brands. Services include strategic management, website creation, social media branding, and more. Visit them online at www.wearesplint.com. Splinth, the brand you need to succeed.
You've created a network that is not to be taken lightly.
Welcome back to the Making It Last podcast with Noreen Daly.
I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life.
I think some people are afraid of doing that because they're afraid of what they might find out about themselves. You alluded to it just now, the whole idea then also of a balanced life. What do you do to try to ensure that you have a balanced life?
Well, self-care is a big part for me of having balance. So some of the things that I've learned to do over the years is saying no to things that drain my energy. That
Say that again slowly, because
saying no to
Okay.
things that drain my energy and
Yeah.
things and people, because there are a lot of people out there that I find draining and that squash my sparkle. And I want to be around people that are uplifting, energizing, I can laugh with. And I'm not saying I don't want to be around someone that's having a hard time. That's not what I'm talking about. Or supporting someone in a difficult time in their life. I'm talking about people that are intentionally wanting to bring you down. Or intentionally, or maybe it's someone that's just really negative all the time. And when you're around them, then you feel drained. So for me, trying to let go of those people in my life, which has taken me a number of years. This doesn't happen overnight.
That's right.
I think doing that. So it's like decluttering people and decluttering commitments. I think that doing those two things has made a huge impact on cultivating balance for myself. Then there's things like
1 second before you go to the next one. What
Mhm.
then if some of these people who you're saying basically to avoid are your coworkers, family members? What then?
Well, I think you need to set parameters. If it's someone in your family, I think that you need to get to the heart of what is going on. You might need to have some difficult conversations with that person. Coworkers can be trickier. It's maybe you need like some sort of mediator or coach, or, you may need to say to the person, listen, I need to focus on my work right now, and I can't do this with you. Or,
Okay.
or if someone is your direct, where you have to work with the person,
Mhm.
maybe you say something about how we just need to keep focused on what we're doing and leave the extraneous conversation out of it. Or, it really depends on the case.
Mhm.
But I
Okay.
would say you need to find ways to protect yourself and protect your inner balance. And, maybe the situation is so bad that you need to think about ways to change your position and
Yeah.
go to a different job, or talk to, an HR person. It just depends. But I would tune into yourself and think about ways you can change your situation.
Okay. Okay. You can go on to the next thing that you're gonna say. I just wanted to unpack that a little bit.
So, in terms of self-care and
Mhm.
cultivating balance, it's sleep is so important. Like, if we don't have a good night's sleep, everything is off. And eating nourishing food is important, and getting outside. It doesn't have to be outside, but getting movement in the
Mhm.
body. And maybe if you're a person who's at a desk all day every day, or in a job, where you are very tied into that job, you are setting a timer on your phone, and you're getting up every hour, and you're doing jumping jacks, or you're walking in a circle, or you're doing something to keep your body moving, so
Moving.
that you're not just sitting all day, because that can be really draining also. Um, and then finding things that bring you joy, right?
Yeah.
Engaging in activities that bring you
Things
joy.
and
And that,
people.
what?
I said things and people.
Yes, for
Mhm.
sure. And that's going to be different for everyone. And that's
Mhm.
why I mentioned earlier, bigger picture, trying to take these buckets and really fill them out for yourself and figure out what those things and people are,
Yeah.
so that then on a more, smaller scale, you're working toward that.
Yeah. Yeah. As we're wrapping up, if you had to encapsulate all of what you just said, Marnie, say in a 3-step process or even in just one major step, what would that be?
Well, I don't think you can do it all in one major step, in all
Okay, all right.
honesty. I
Fair
don't
enough.
think that's very realistic.
Okay.
So I would say, the goal setting,
Okay.
the self-care,
Mm-hmm.
and then, we didn't even get into this, and maybe we will at a later date, but the mindset. The
No, we
mindset
can. We can.
piece
We
is a
can.
whole other piece to this, right? Like, and I think keeping an open mindset and an adaptable mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that sometimes you need to pivot,
Yeah.
and you're maybe not wanting to pivot, but life happens, right? And it doesn't
Mhm.
just go in this perfect order. It's a zigzag of all over the place. So knowing how to respond and pivot that is aligned with your own values and your needs.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Marnie.
Thank you so much for having me.
This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it